Ouachita One Table. Ouachita One Table podcast is a deeper discussion of issues facing our business communities. Over this series, we'll invite community leaders in businesses, the arts, nonprofits, culture, and government as we discuss the issues that strike at the heart of the Chamber's mission for the greater good of our parish. Topics such as workforce development, education, quality of life, economic development, and more. Ouachita One Table. This podcast is a partnership project of the Monroe and West Monroe, West Ouachita Chambers of Commerce and was produced by Godly Works Productions in the Louisiana Catalyst Podcast Studios at the Benoit Community Center. Now, here are your hosts, Roy Heatherly and Christopher Kelly.
Hey everyone, it's Chris Kelly with the West Monroe, West Ouachita Chamber of Commerce, and this is Ouachita One Table, a deeper dive into business topics. We are thrilled again to have Mayor Staci Mitchell here, and I'm joined also with my great friend,
Roy Heatherly with the Monroe Chamber of Commerce, and you're right. We are so excited to have Mayor Mitchell back with us.
So we had a deeper discussion of what led you to be mayor and what's going on in the city, but let's concentrate on the future, the next steps and where we're going. Sure. So the city embarked with your leadership on some master planning. Yes. So let's set the stage. Talk about the master plan for both downtown and the city at large.
Sure. Well, the downtown master plan was done first. It was done shortly after I came in office. And, you know, if you don't have a plan, then how do you know how to get there? Sure. And so we have plans in our life. We said, okay, in 5 years I want to do this. So how do you get there? Well, it's the same thing with the city. Of course, we received a grant from USDA, so we were able to hire a professional. I do believe in letting professionals do their jobs. Sure. Don't try to do the job of something that's not your job. You don't know what to do. And so hired a professional, came in and did a master plan. What I love so much about the master plan, not only the downtown one, but as well as the citywide master plan, which came after. I was in the midst of COVID, so it did take a little longer, but it is now complete, is that there was so much public involvement. There's public input sessions, there's visioning, there's surveys, there's a lot of coming up with things and then going back and presenting those to the public and getting the public's thoughts again on those things. So it's not my vision. It's not a couple of department heads' visions. It's our community's vision, what we want to see. Because some things that I think may be important, the community may say, well, I think something else is much more important. Right. And so that's what I love about the master plan, is it identified these projects and these directions, if you would, that our community wants to go in, and then it helps me, gives us a guidebook. And okay, so if we want to be here, we can go look for grants. We can, projects have been identified that get us to that point. It vets it, if you would, so that if someone comes in and says, well, why the heck are you doing that? Okay, well, 90% of our population said they want to see development on the river. Sure. So it's
and I think it's important. You mentioned there was visioning sessions and public input and an online survey, but you met people at every dimension of where they were. It wasn't come to this stagnant meeting at City Hall at this weird time that nobody can get to. You made a diversity of times. Y'all really were cognizant of trying to meet a diversity of places, times, and people.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Because this is our community, all of us.
Yeah. So what did we learn? Let's talk about downtown first.
Sure. Downtown, we learned, again, we've talked about in the past about what we look like. Sure. The number one project identified was improving our streetscape. That's burying our utility lines. Right. It's having better sidewalks, wider sidewalks, so that you have more walking space. People said, we want a walkable downtown. So then you identify projects that get you to that point. Right. Wider sidewalks, bump outs, more landscaping, benches, changing the streets to just a couple of streets, just a little 1-2 block area into one way, so that it slows down traffic and you get out and you walk. Walkable downtowns, the businesses there are more successful. You see more, a better economy with those that type of setup, if you would, and people enjoy doing it. And if people were not convinced before COVID about that, they certainly are convinced now, because we saw how important it was and how people needed to be outside during COVID. And even now people are continuing that. It's good for your health, it's good for your mind, it's good for everything.
Right. And so that extends to accessing the river?
Yes.
It extends to.
Yes.
Talk more.
I got off on a tangent.
No, it's good.
So the second number one.
I just want to keep facilitating the discussion.
The second top project identified was, how do we use our river more?
Right.
How do we access it from downtown? We've got this beautiful natural asset right there. Granted, we have a seawall. I mean,
Right.
we know that
Necessary.
that's our barrier, our challenge. But how do we use the river? And so, again, there's the project, or there's the want. How do you get there? The city was able, it took a year and a half of me working with the owners of the property, but the city was able to acquire property on the river, just on the north side of the railroad bridge, so between the condos and the railroad bridge. We have acquired that property. Then you think of all these projects, and these are what I call want-to projects.
Right.
They're not sewer projects that you have to have, but they're wants. They're things to improve our amenities, to improve our services, to improve our quality of life, which, in my mind, they are have-to projects.
Yes, they are.
Because we have to have those if we're going to continue to grow and make this a place where our children will want to come back and live, or maybe our niche is retirees.
Sure.
People my age that are retiring, I'm not going to retire anytime soon, but people of my
Yes,
age
please.
that,
Stick around
that
for
are
it.
retiring, well, I want to move back home because,
Right,
yes.
that kind of thing. So, so to me, they are have-to projects, but identified.
But you always say special projects.
Exactly. Special projects, special money.
Right.
So we engaged on how do you raise special money? Capital campaigns. Colleges do them. Animal shelters do them. Schools do them. Why can't a city do one?
And so now we're on the precipice of
Yes.
this campaign.
Right. Picture this, our time is now is the name of our
Excellent
capital
name.
campaign. It is led by the Downtown West Monroe Revitalization Group. They are the 501c3 located downtown. Their mission goal is to raise money and awareness to put into capital improvements in downtown West Monroe. They are the catalyst for what you see going on downtown, and it is amazing. But with that capital campaign, the city, the groups, the revitalization group in the city has raised enough private money that a marina is being installed. We had the physical marina donated, and then enough money has been collected that it is installing the project. It's being built now. Expect to see it sometime midsummer.
And look, this is not a small thing, right? Because as soon as you get the levee involved, you've got Corps of Engineers,
Yes.
you've got all these
Yes.
dimensionality.
Yes, which is why it's not done already.
Right.
You do have to get permits from the
Sure.
Corps, and
Right.
it took a long time. And then the river was high. The river's fallen now, so it will be installed and be usable. It's not a big fancy marina. It's a very good 8-boat slip marina with the gangway. You can pull your boat in if you're on the river. You can kayak. You can jet ski. You can do whatever you want to do. Park your vehicle there. Come up the levee. Go into downtown. Eat, shop, enjoy a festival. Whatever's going on. But that's just the start. We've applied for a big grant for a fishing pier on that same property. We're looking at an amphitheater with a floating stage. And this is 250 people place.
Right.
It's not a big place again, but just
But that's transformative.
Right. And then, of course, there's a building located on the property that will be rehabbed and leased out for someone to do a business
Restaurant, whatever.
Right. Don't know what that's going to look like yet. But just the awareness, if you would, and, doing things in downtown West Monroe, we have seen over $11 million of investment in the last 5 years. And that's private investment. That's not city money. That's private investment. People purchasing buildings, rehabbing the buildings. It's the Downtown West Monroe Revitalization Group raising money. I mean, they're responsible for Alley Park. It's the CVB joining in with them to make certain projects happen. And that's the way it's supposed to be. You should not sit around and wait for government to do everything for you.
Sure.
It takes more. The government, we don't have enough taxes to do all that.
Talk about why downtown was first and why that's so important to the rest of the strategies.
Sure. Well, downtown is our history. I mean, that is where West Monroe, was founded. I love looking at the old photographs and reading some histories and knowing some things. Of course, the Mitchell family, my husband's family, has been there for multiple generations. So I love listening to Jay's dad and mom, talk about things and stories and hear about things. And Bert Hatton, who was the mayor, before Mayor Norris and all that. But that's our history, our heritage. And if you got to have that, I mean, what else? I mean, you got to have something that you're proud of and why you're there and gives you the meaning. And so that's why your downtown is important. Also, with the way retail has changed, people want to shop in downtowns and be able to walk. It's outdoor, it's an outdoor living shopping area that you see being built, it's already there. And so that's why it's your heart and soul of your community. And so when you see a good, healthy downtown, you're going to see a good, healthy rest of your city.
And it's we talked at the last episode about the interstate coming through. It's a destination point then.
Yes, definitely. People get off. I see cars. It's interesting to see cars with different license plates when you're walking around downtown, and you think, what are they doing here? Or you'll see them at Traps. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people in the parking lot of Traps because I see their license plate in Michigan or somewhere, and like, what are you here? Oh, we just all look like a good place to stop and eat, or we Googled or something. We're on our way to Jackson or wherever they're going.
Right.
And so, but yeah, it's cool. We're looking to do more things to get people to stop and spend some time in downtown, or over by the Ike. Of course, the Ike Hamilton is a huge attractor.
Sure.
The indoor sports complex will be an even bigger attractor. So how do we just continue to get more people to our area?
Awesome.
But let's go back to the capital campaign.
Yes.
So now our time is now. So, but everybody can get involved in being part of this picture, from a dollar to naming rights that are big dollars.
Yes.
So I'm Chris. I wanna be involved. I wanna do something. How do I do that?
Sure. One, you can call Downtown Revitalization Group, or you can call the City of West Monroe. We will be more than happy to come tell you all about the campaign and show you the ways of giving. Sure. We've made multiple presentations, but there is a community kickoff that will be happening, and there'll be text to give. There'll be, if you want to do in kind, but we've already had about 1.4 million committed. It's the larger commitments are a 3 to 5 year commitment.
Right.
Again, naming rights are available for not only the indoor sports complex, but for things downtown. If someone says, hey, I really love fishing piers, and that fishing pier is coming, and we hope to get a grant for it, but it's not going to pay for all of it, right? And it's there's match and stuff involved. We can name a fishing pier after you or your family. Yes,
the Roy Heatherly fishing
there
pier.
You go.
I can see it right now.
So there's all kinds of ways. Contact me.
Sure.
Any of our ELC, the Executive Leadership Council, which there's multiple people all over the city that are part of this, and Dawn Smith is a huge part of it. She's a major contributor, and is Gus Campbell, Wallace Hardy. I mean, there's so many people, Johnny Reeves, and they see the importance of it, and see Blake Wheelis. Oh my gosh, Blake won an award and was given money to be able to contribute to an organization, and he sees the value in this.
Yeah, so let's brag on that for a moment. So Blake is right on the edge of downtown. His office is. There's almost 20,000 State Farm agents, I think.
There's 19,000. Yeah, so almost 20,000. You're right, 19,000.
And then of that, it's State Farm's 100th anniversary. So they picked 100 agents to identify. He was one of those. So amazing there.
Yes.
And then, speaking to people that are engaged in the community, he immediately thought of giving that donation that they identified to downtown.
Yeah.
So he picks up the phone, calls you, and says, "Staci, I have an idea."
Yeah, he showed up at my office and says, "I need to talk." I was like, "Okay."
That's good.
Okay. Anyway, he started telling me about it, and he was chosen because of his community service.
Sure.
Not because he sold the most insurance or anything like that. It's because of what his agency and his team give back to the community is why he was chosen.
And speaking of that, literally every Tuesday, they're out picking up trash.
They're out picking up trash. They sure are. So, and he said, I want to give this to the community. And he said yesterday, and he's been on probably every board in Ouachita Parish.
Right.
The chamber, everything.
Everything.
United Way, everything.
Right.
Yeah.
But he wanted to give something. He's like, when you get to this age, at this point in your life, you're looking to the future. Is what's gonna do we need to do now for our future? And he understands the vision. He sees how important this is, and so he did give his $10,000 that he won to our capital campaign to picture this. Our time is now for the river property.
Cool. But again, it doesn't happen when you don't have. That wouldn't happen if we didn't have leaders that were engaging in the community. Sure. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we have this capital campaign. That's an aggressive timeline.
Yes.
The sports complex. We haven't really talked about that. So let's visit on that for a second.
On the sports complex.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Sports complex is actually a project identified 7 years ago, I think, by the CVB as what is the next big thing to diversify our sports tourism in Ouachita Parish. We all know how we have all been affected positively by the travel outdoor sports, the baseball, the softball. We see it. But what can we do to get more money, different money, into Ouachita Parish? Yeah. And so an indoor sports complex was identified. I loved the idea then. Once I came into office, started working with the CVB a little closer. They did another study to say, okay, where does it need to be located in Ouachita Parish? Looked at everywhere.
Right.
Of course, the West Monroe site was identified as the best site. And there's multiple, interstate, hotels, restaurants, city owns the property.
Right.
We also have a funding source. I did form an EDD, an Economic Development District, right after I came in office to be able to do, there is a tax levied in that district on hotels and restaurants and entertainment. And that money can be used for economic development within the district. Right. Didn't know for sure at that time that it would be an indoor sports complex, but knew we needed something. We live in the time of incentives and how do you get people here? Yeah. So I knew we needed a funding source. Identified the funding source. So it just all worked that that's where it needed to be. Now, we'll see construction on it this summer. It is something I've worked on day and night. My administration has since coming into office. It has all come to fruition. The CVB is a $6 million partner. The Ouachita Parish Police Jury is a partner. Our community has supported the endeavor and understands the importance of it. And so it will be under construction very soon. We'll be open August of 2023.
So totally changing that entire part of
right.
Well, and talk, that's big for the parish.
Yes.
That's big for the city of Monroe as well as West Monroe. Talk more about that a little bit.
The economic impact on our parish is expected to be $21.5 million a year.
Wow.
190,000 visitors a year to this facility. Create 300 jobs. That's full and part-time. Obviously not all in the facility, but the
service industry
and
everything.
Yeah. Right, the businesses that kind of trickle from that. It brings people to our community too. Who knows when one of them might say, hey, maybe I want to retire here. Hey, maybe I like all these schools here.
Or, hey, I want to plant my business.
Hey, I want to plant my business here. Exactly. Plus, there's already a hotel that is coming that will be connected to the facility, a new hotel. But the city still owns a good bit of property out there. There's privately owned property, in that area. It's going to serve as a catalyst for development in that area too. More will come from that. So we will see an even bigger economic impact than what is projected just because of what it will bring.
So again, catalyzing change through quality leadership.
What's the average stay? Like, so if I come in for a tournament, is it 2 nights, 3 nights? What is it?
Depends on the sport, obviously, but I think a 2-night is probably your most common because we'll see a lot of weekend tournaments. We'll see, from Friday to Sunday. I don't want to see a local person in that building unless they're playing in that tournament, okay?
Yeah.
Monday to Thursday, we'll get to use it for some community use, but the number one reason that facility is being constructed is to be an economic driver, to get people here.
Let's talk about the uniqueness of it. It's 8 courts, but there's no center spans, there's no...
It's 110,000 square foot, very, very nice gym is the best way for me to describe it to people. The inside will be 8 courts, 8 full-size basketball courts in the gym box that can be converted to 16 pickleball, 16 volleyball. You can do taekwondo, cheerleading, dance. You can pitch horseshoes. You can lift weights. You can do whatever you can do. You can have events because again, it's a big open building. It's a clear span building, so there's no internal columns. It does have meeting rooms, like more team room type rooms around the edges, and it has a mezzanine upstairs for viewing.
See, I think that's critical.
Different space.
Yeah, you rattled off pickleball. You don't see a lot of pickleball, but it's huge.
It's a fast-growing sport.
It's huge, and to be able to draw pickleball tournaments here is a big deal.
Right. We have a larger pickleball following in this area than most people understand. There's a group that plays at the Rec 3 and 4 days a week in West Monroe, and I know they play. I think they play at Saul Adler and somewhere else in Monroe a couple days a week. My dad's 81 years old. He plays pickleball 3 days a week, and we call him Mr. Pickleball. But it's awesome to see. That is why his health is still good and able to do. It's not only the physicalness of it, but it's the social aspect. They have a good time. He's met new friends. They go eat lunch. It's awesome. Right. And it's not just, senior adults. I thought that's what it was at first, but I was wrong. Every age. And you go, and heck, they're good. There's a couple of them that I've tried. Yes, I'm not very good. Yes.
So we talked about downtown. We talked about this new sports center. Let's talk about the citywide master plan that's launching now.
So the citywide plan looks at obviously our whole city.
Sure.
Okay. I mean, talk about land use, which of course in the city of West Monroe we don't have a lot of empty land.
Yeah.
We have more land that can be. How can it be backfilled? You know, as something ages out, what direction do we want to see it go? It talks about community character. What do we want when you come to West Monroe? What do we want you to think of in West Monroe? You know, we love that we are family friendly, good place to live. Take your kids. Good faith-based area, but you know, do we want to stay that way? You know, and yes, the plan says we do, but you know, some cities go different directions. They may be more industry or something. But it also talks about how do we zone things as property comes available. How does the zoning work so that neighborhoods are protected? What do we want to see in our economy? What do we want to see as far as big infrastructure projects?
Right.
So it gives you again just that kind of that guiding principles and rules, not rules, guiding suggestions and recommendations on how to get to where people want to see us be.
Talk about a little bit about the parks too.
Sure.
Because there's some great parks in West Monroe.
Right. We have a lot of parks to be 13,000 people in 8.5 square miles. But, and it's nice, our parks, you know, Caroli's located on the north edge of town. Lazar is located on the south edge of town. We've got multiple smaller ones in between. You know, my overall vision, I keep telling people before I leave office, I want to see Caroli to Lazar connected, where you can walk or bike.
Yeah,
and we're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Sure.
Yes. But also then, you know, we want to see how do you also get safely through the Thomas Road, you know, that area. So you could, there's, you know, kind of divide the city up and, you know, how do we connect everything? Recreation, residential, and business. How do we connect all of that together in a safe manner for people? But obviously recreation is huge. People want to be able to do something. Caroli Park is, you know, just fantastic. We've recently opened the walking trails on Highland Park. They're busy, they're nice, they're being used. There's more coming to that. Again, working with our smaller city parks. And then of course ending at Lazar.
So, re-engaging public, making people feel ownership, having a complete comprehensive plan that has a unified vision forward, engaging a whole new spirit of entrepreneurship of all these accessory businesses that are going to feed off of these new major projects, reimagining a new chapter for downtown, reinvesting in what works, but honoring our history. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That makes me so
great
You
future.
say it like
Great
that,
future.
it really is, isn't
It
it?
really is cool. Wow. But I say again, like, I'm so proud every day that I get to kind of watch what's happening in a different level because, man, when I first moved here, I had no understanding of how this place was unique. And over the 20-something years that I've been here, I couldn't be more proud of the legacy that's building. So the children, your grandchildren, you know, and he's what does he say about
He calls this my tag.
My tag.
They call me Cookie.
Yeah.
And actually, when my daughter was in middle school, her and some of her friends named me Cookie.
Yeah.
So they call me Cookie. And he wants, when he comes to visit, he wants to wear Cookie's tag.
Yeah.
We put it on and go.
But talk about leaving a legacy.
Sure.
Mayor's always working towards shopping local and engaging with local commerce. So much so it's on her body everywhere she goes, so much so that her grandchildren want to emulate that. That's a whole different style of engagement and leadership. It's leading by example and being humble to listen to the public and not get disillusioned.
Wow.
So, man, thank you so
you.
much for everything
Well,
you're doing. Thank you for being open. Thank you for always plugging in with the Chamber of Commerce and having a dialogue with our community. It's pretty special.
I said it in the first one, I'll say it again. Thank you for your passion.
Yeah.
I love passionate, and I love passionate leaders, and you got things going in the right direction. It's great to see. Thank you for that.
There's a lot of good people.
Yes.
And celebrate them.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah.
So this has been Ouachita One Table, a collaborative project between the West Monroe West Ouachita Chamber and the Monroe Chamber. I'm Chris Kelly, joined with my good friend
Roy Heatherly.
and we have had Mayor Staci Mitchell from the great city of West Monroe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
You've been listening to Ouachita One Table with Christopher Kelly and Roy Heatherly. This podcast is a partnership project of the Monroe and West Monroe, West Ouachita Chambers of Commerce and was produced by Godly Works Production in the Louisiana Catalyst Podcast Studios at the Benoit Community Center.